Hello, how are you? Today we will try to teach you about Daniel 7, about the awesome beast of prophecy, Daniel 7. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and a visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel 7:1. In the books of Daniel and Revelation, the same history is told over and over again, with each different view adding information to the total picture. When all these pieces are put together by a careful student of prophecy under the guidance of Elohim, we see a detailed picture of history and the future, especially Earth's final events. This king of knowledge is not available to the casual scripture reader or to the critics and skeptics. No matter how educated or clever they think themselves to be, remember how the so-called wise men and the magicians of Daniel's day could not interpret the message from God. It is the same today. Today there is someone who will interpret the dream of Daniel in correct way. So we must search. A child who loves God and honesty wants to obey Him and learn the truth will understand what the great men of the world cannot know. It is part of the mystery of the Holy Scriptures. Now we interpret Daniel 7 verses 2 up to 3. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea, and the four great beasts come up from the sea, diverse one from another. Daniel 7 verses 2 up to 3. Belshazzar had come to the throne of Babylon, and as we saw before, he didn't want godly people like Daniel, that means righteous people like Daniel's, around his court. What Daniel's job was at this time we are not told. One night God Elohim gave him a dream, and in the dream he saw a raging sea tossed by the four winds, and out of that sea come four strange beasts, one at a time, following each other. We are learning how to understand the great prophecies of the scripture. This is a wonderful study and you will really enjoy it. The books of Daniel and Revelation are really part of the same prophecy, and they both help us to understand what the prophecies mean. There is an important rule in prophecy that you must learn, or if you don't want to get mixed up. We must always find the meanings of the prophecies in the scripture itself. If we just read something and then I say I think it means this, and you say I think it means that, we will be confused. This is what most people do when they read prophecy, and it gets to be a mess. The scripture must always be its own interpreter. In prophecy, the waters or great sea means people and the nations on earth. Revelation 17:50. The waters which thou sawest are people and multitudes and nations and tongues. The four winds mean war, trouble, and strife. Revelation 7 verses 1. And after this thing I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Beasts represent kingdoms or nations. Daniel 7:23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth. When we see the beasts come up out of the water, when the winds blow, we know they come to power by war and battle. To Daniel was given a vision of fierce beasts representing the powers of the earth, but the symbol of the Messiah's kingdom is a lamp, while earth's kingdoms rule by physical force. Beasts represent kingdoms, so the Messiah is to banish every man-made weapon, every instrument of Corsian force. His kingdom was to be established to uplift and ennoble fallen humanity. forcing people to worship or obey Elohim, God, even in something that in itself is right, is not what Elohim, God, wants. He only wants people to serve him because they want to and choose to, because it is an obligation to worship God Elohim. Now Daniel 7 verses 4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man. A man's heart was given to it. Daniel 7 verses 4. The winged lion showed power and speed. It represented Babylon and was even used as a symbol by Nebuchadnezzar. Archaeologists have seen stones from Babylon with lions and even winged lions on them. Under Nebuchadnezzar, the kingdom was swift and powerful, but later it became weak and foolish under Belshazzar. This is what the wings being plucked and the lions standing up with only a timid man's heart showed. Luxury, indulgence, and soft living changed the mighty lion into a weak city. Babylon is a symbol of the world at large. When its doom was made certain, its kings and officers seemed to be as men insane, and their own course hastened its destiny. When the doom of a nation is fixed, it seems that all the energy, wisdom, and discretion of its former time of prosperity deserts its men of position, and they hasten the evil they would avert. Outside enemies are not the greatest peril to an individual or a nation. The overthrow of a nation results under the providence of God from some unwise or evil course of its own. But the people who fear God, who are loyal to his laws, who carry out of the principles of righteousness in their lives, have a sure defense, and God will be the refuge of those who trust in him. Now Daniel 7 verses 5. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it riseth up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said those into it, Arise, devour much flesh. Daniel 7 verses 5. The bear was higher in the one side than the other. This was Medo-Persia, a combination of 2 powers, with Persia being the stronger. This was shown by it being raised up on one side. The character of this power is well represented by a bear. The Medes and the Persian were cruel and greedy, robbers and spoilers of the people. It had 3 ribs in its mouth, indicating the 3 areas that Medo-Persia conquered to come to rule the world: Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt, which were especially ground down and oppressed by this power. It was a cruel and vicious nation and killed many people. That's why the verse says, Arise and devour much flesh. The Medo-Persian kingdom was visited by the wrath of God because in it his law was trampled underfoot. The fear of God possessed no power among the people. Wickedness, blasphemy, and corruption were the prevailing influences in this kingdom. And the kingdoms that followed were even more base and corrupt. They deteriorated because they cast a scale of moral walls while they raised themselves higher and higher in pride and arrogance. Now Daniel 7 verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Daniel 7 verse 6. Wings in prophecy means a spirit. This was the kingdom of Greece under Alexander the Great. It conquered the world so fast that the leopard beast is shown with 4 wings. A leopard is a fast animal without wings, but with 4 wings. God shows its rise to power would be very fast. The 4 heads represented the 4 generals of Alexander the Great, which took over the kingdom following Alexander's death just after he had conquered the entire world. These were Cassander, who had Greece and its area, Lysimachus, who had Asia Minor, Ptolemy, who had Egypt, and Seleucus, who had Syria and Babylon. It is important to know how Alexander died, as there is a lesson there for all. He could conquer nations, but he could not control his appetite, passions, and pride. He worshipped the gods of Hercules and Bacchus, god of wine, and tried to imitate what they were said to have done. He claimed to be a god himself, and when one of his generals died, he told the people to worship him as a god. He delighted in drinking and parties, and when drunk could fly into a rage and kill even his friends. He did many cruel and bloodthirsty acts, once burning an entire city on the whim of a wicked woman. He encouraged such excessive drinking among his followers that on one occasion 20 of them together died as a result of the party at length, having sat through one long drinking spree. He was immediately invited to another when, after drinking to each of the 20 guests present, he twice drank full, says history. Incredible as it may seem, the Herculean cup containing 6 of our quarts, he thereupon fell down, seized with a violent fever, of which he died 11 days later in May or June BC 323. He was only 32 years old. Compare Alexander the Great with the prophet Daniel, who decided not to eat the king's rich food or drink his wine.